those Cleveland Guardians are cooking up something special over at Progressive Field right now. It is incredible and impressive what they have done to start the 2024 season.
Yeah, it's beyond impressive because they have the best record in baseball. And they're like 5 games over the LA Dodgers, who spend $8 for every dollar the Guardians spend, or something absurd like that. What they're doing is gathering a lot of attention across baseball. A lot of the pundits, when I talk to my friends in the national media, they say, talk to me at the All-Star break. And they also say, you have to look at who they've done this against. And that is a fair criticism. But when they played one great team so far, they lost that series. The great team they played were the New York Yankees, and that's the only series they've lost this year. They dropped 2 of the 3 games to the Yankees, but they could have won 2 of 3. They lost a close one. And I still want to pump the brakes on, I still don't think this is who this team is. I think they're above average team. I think that they are going to contend in the Central. But man, I look at their starting pitching and it's terrifying because I'm not sure how long we're going to have Tristan McKenzie. He just doesn't look like the same. And I saw what happened with my own 2 eyes last year when they pitched much of the season without Bieber and McKenzie. They finished 10 games under 500, and they struggled with their starting pitching. And I don't know who's next. I don't know who's coming in the pipeline. But you don't apologize for beating the Oakland A's. You don't apologize for beating poor teams. You play who's on your schedule. You said, I don't care if they're playing the A's, the B's, or the C's. Well, the B's are in town tonight.
Yes, yeah.
They get the Red Sox, starting tomorrow night, actually. Red Sox are a little bit better team than most, and we'll see what happens. But I always wait 2 months before I make any wholesale pivots on a team because I've been burned before by doing that. So June 1st, I will let you know if this is who they are.
Jay walked in. The first thing I told Jay, hey, Guardians and foe.
I know you did. I don't care who they play.
I don't care who they play. It could be the Dodgers. It could be the Braves, whoever. But in all seriousness, man, I guess I'm just having fun watching. I can't remember a season where they got off to this hot of a start as far as like hitting the baseball, right?
Yeah.
It's April. My cousin is famous for telling me, man, just wait till it get warm. That's when they'll start hitting. But they're hitting right now, and that's what's been the driving force of us having the best record in baseball.
Right.
They're finding different ways to win games that I'm not really used to seeing from this team. And like I said earlier, all you can do is just play who's on your schedule, right? Now, coming up this weekend, they go to Atlanta, and then they turn around and they go to Houston. So I think
now Houston is, I think, bottom 5 in all of baseball.
Yeah.
They're having a horrible start to the season.
But that's sneaky right there.
Yeah, I know, because Houston's going to get hot.
By this time next week, I think that if this conversation was to come up again, I think we would have a better understanding of, okay, is this for real, or is the bottom going to fall out, or is this going to be a team that, is going to beat up on teams that's on their level or lower, and then struggle with teams that's like on the same level with the Braves and Houston and things like that.
Yeah,
so
we'll find out. That's a nice 6-game stretch.
Houston has a worse record than Oakland, by the way.
I know that. I think they have 7 wins.
They're 7-16. I did not realize how bad they've been.
They've been absolutely horrible for a team that has, playoff aspirations and World Series aspirations every year. I will say this. We asked this question last week. Has anything you've seen been a bit of an indictment on Tito? Because, in his 10 years here, he only had 2 teams that were under 500. I think it was his first team and his last team.
Right.
Also, happy birthday, Tito.
Happy birthday, Tito.
Right. And I said no, but you know what? I was thinking about something when I was watching the game yesterday.
I'm going to see what you're going to say, because I might.
Tito's teams were notorious slow starters. If you could go back and look at the Indians and Guardians records month by month with Tito, they were horrible in April, pretty bad in May, and August and September they were world beaters. In fact, the one year they made the playoffs, they had to win like 23 of their last 25 games to get in, and they did it.
Is that when they chased down Chicago?
Yes.
I remember that.
So I think that perhaps Stephen Vogt's a smart guy. And I remember one night we were at the, I say night, it was late afternoon in Arizona. We had just finished our live hits for Channel 3's 6 o'clock show. And we had been there since 8 o'clock in the morning. And when I was leaving, I knew that all the parking spots were labeled for, Chris Antonetti, the manager, not the players. They didn't have their own spots, but all the coaches and managers did. And we were gathering our gear and we were leaving. It was probably 7 o'clock Eastern time. It was probably 5 o'clock Arizona time. And as I'm walking out, I'm looking at the cars. And they were all rental cars, but they were all, gone, empty, 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 empty. One car in a spot, empty, 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 empty. The car that was there belonged to Stephen Vogt. And the facility was empty. They didn't have a game that day. It was before they started playing games, and they were just doing workouts. And the players like to get out at 1 o'clock so they can go get a round of golf in. Mm-hmm. And they had put in their work. They were done. But here it was, local time, 5 o'clock. And I know that he was there at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. And everybody's gone, but Stephen Vogt is still there. And I was like, damn, that's what you want to see in your first-year manager. And he told me when we interviewed him, he said, look, there's a lot I don't know. I'm going to lean on these guys that have been here and been through this to help get me through this. But one of the things he may have been doing, and I'm sure he's smart enough that he wanted to look at, so where has this team faltered in the past? And he probably realized that, hey, for Tito and all of his strengths, they were never a hot starter. Never. They always put themselves behind the 8 ball and had to make it up. So maybe he's put more emphasis on April, and he let the guys know, look, you guys are falling out of contention in April and May, and then making it difficult on yourselves the last 4 months of the season. Let's, for a change, do well on the road and do well early. What's their road record, Mike?
The Guardians this season on the road are 10-3. Tied with the Boston Red Sox for the best road record in baseball.
Yeah.
I lied. Milwaukee's 10-2. I'm so sorry.
Okay, 10-3 on the road. One of the things that struck me about the Texas Rangers' road to the World Series last year, and I love this, if you looked at the teams they had beaten, they beat the Rays, the Orioles, they beat who did they beat in the ALCS?
They beat the Orioles, then they beat...
No, they beat the
Astros.
Rays, Astros. So they beat the Rays, Orioles, Astros, Diamondbacks in the playoffs. ROAD. They were 11-0 in road playoff games.
That's crazy.
I'm gonna tell you what, Jay.
The road to winning happens on the road.
It's on the road.
And Stephen Vogt saw that in the World Series last year. Now, it's just ironic that the teams they beat, and their nicknames are ROAD. And they were 11-0 on the ROAD. And they won the World Series.
I think, to me, when you were saying that, it brought me back to playing baseball in high schools. I played 3 sports, so by the time that we got around the baseball season, I was playing basketball. So as you know, playing baseball, those guys are inside hitting already starting December.
They're ready.
They're ready to go. I get off the basketball court and I need to see some pitches. So the first year I play, I'm like, okay, well listen, I need to see as many pitches as possible. So I would work the count, I'm like, okay, I got the speed of things, I'm ready to go. That first year I played as a freshman, I've hit 415. The next year came around and my dad said, you know what? They're gonna change that up on you. He's like, you seeing the difference between somebody that's a good hitter and a mediocre hitter is what are you going to do? You can hit fastballs, but what are you going to do when the breaking pitches come? Yeah. That next year as a sophomore, they would show me an early fastball and I would take it. But then the rest of the count, I'm facing off-speed pitches and stuff off the outer thirds or inside of the plate. Nothing good to hit. And so my dad, who has been my baseball coach since ever, he's like, hey, listen, sometimes when you batting, the best pitch you're going to see is the first one.
Yep.
And you might want to jump on that first pitch. And that was not our philosophy, But I had to start becoming a good first ball hitter because I knew that I was going to see until I was able to start hitting the curveballs. Then when you get older, you get to be a junior or senior, you can look for a curveball. You get sneaky. You're like, this guy's coming with the curve. I think the biggest thing that I see between a couple years ago and now is the aggressiveness. Yep. It seems like these guys have the freedom at the plate to go up there and look for something to hit.
Stephen Kwan's a great example.
He's up there playing.
He's going up there hitting.
He ain't up there looking to work deep in the count. He's looking to get his 358. You can't be passive and be a 358
and
hitter.
he didn't even have a hit yesterday. He's still bad.
I know.
He's still bad.
Josh Naylor is going up there looking for something to drive, right? That is the attitude that I like from these guys, because Tito and Vogt is saying, look, man, you might swing and miss, you might strike out a little bit, but guess what? You're going to give yourself an opportunity to hit the ball somewhere hard.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason why these guys are getting runners in scoring position. They're up there driving runs.
Well, look at yesterday. Naylor, it was a one-run game. Mm-hmm. Naylor comes to the plate against a lefty. Now, you talk about a guy finding a weakness and turning it into a strength. 2 years ago, he hit abysmal against left-handed pitching.
You and Bull argued about that for 4 months.
Well, it got to the point where in the playoffs, I didn't want him in the lineup
Right.
against lefties. He was a liability. And I asked him in March in Arizona, how did you go from a subpar lefty against lefties? Because lefties are always notoriously bad against lefties, but he was worse. He was bottom of the barrel against lefties. To now being one of the best left-handed hitters against left-handed pitching. How did you do that? He said, I just made it a priority in the offseason. And I also realized that a lot of that was mindset. I was going up to the plate thinking I'm not supposed to get a hit. Do that every time and you're going to be out of the major leagues real quick. I changed my approach. Mm-hmm. And I worked and I worked and I worked. Yesterday, he comes up in a one-run close game. 3-2, bases loaded. He drives the double down into the right field corner off a left-hander that was a pitch that was one of the tough ones for him to handle. It was a sweeper that still finished inner half. He sat on it. He's waiting for it. And he put it into the right field corner, cleared the bases. Now a 3-2 game is 6-2, and you take the pressure off your bullpen.
And you know about when you play, we've all had guys that you play on the team, and they may be an 8-9 hole hitter. Nothing much. Hey, if they get on, great. But let them have a really good start. Yeah. That kind of stuff happens the whole year. Like, there was a guy I played with, we didn't even want the ball to go to him, right? You're like, no, listen, he's a 9-hole hitter, and we really don't want him in the field too much. He started off great. He started off, had a couple hits, started to feel his confidence. Next thing you know, this guy is probably one of our best clutch hitters the entire season. It's funny like that in baseball. Yeah. When you see it going and you see the ball fall and you hit the ball hard and you're hitting the ball hard even if it goes to somebody, that carryover confidence, he's seeing the ball better now. It's something weird about that.
And what's interesting about that is baseball, more than any other sport, everything feeds off everything else. Winning breeds winning. Losing breeds losing. The Astros are not a 7-win team, but they got a couple of tough losses early. Confidence wanes, excitement wanes, up and down the lineup, all 9 guys. They're not going to play that way all year. They're going to catch a stride. Hopefully it's not against us. Right. 1 or 2 guys in the lineup are going to get hot, and everybody's going to feed off that. Right now, what's going on with the Guardians is one day feeds into the next day, and in the micro, in the lineup, one guy being hot feeds into the next guy being hot.
And they keep doing this.
I remember the 19, you guys are too young for the, I love that.
I love it.
The 84 Detroit Tigers started 35-5. Everybody on the roster had a career year. After that 35-5 start, they were pretty much a 500 team. Mm-hmm. They were 30 games over 500 to start the season.
That's crazy.
They had pitchers who were not household names that were winning 15, 16, 17 games because they didn't want to be the one to let down the 4-game string where you had a quality start and a shutout or a complete game or a win. and it just fed on itself, and it carried him all the way to a World Series championship. And I'm not predicting that for the Guardians, but what I'm saying is it feeds on itself, and then it becomes almost like this, like nuclear energy. You start the reaction, and then it just feeds off of itself, and it keeps going. That's what it feels like this team is doing right now.
Three things, and it all goes back to Tito Vogt, right? We all know life and death is in the power of the tongue. We know that positive affirmations give off positive energy, and energy is contagious, right? Tito Vogt from day one has had the words World Series in his mouth, and he has not backed off of that, right?
I loved it.
And just like Kevin Stefanski, you know how we used to talk about he said certain things, and now you see his team buying into the culture. You see the same thing going on right now with the Cleveland Guardians. This man has been talking about being more aggressive at the plate from day one.
Yep.
He's been talking about this team being a World Series
and it's
contender
manifested itself into results.
From day one. And now as these players are constantly hearing their manager talk like this, that's like speaking life into your team, right? You're not speaking death into your team, right? And then the affirmations is, I believe this team is good enough. I believe we have what it takes. That's giving off positive energy to everybody that's in that line.
So true.
Right? Because you look at how they're playing with a bunch of confidence. This is a bunch of young dudes that none of us really expected to be doing anything what they're doing. I was sitting on this set a month ago joking about Gabriel Arias and how Chris Antonetti want me to believe that he's going to like live up to his potential.
Clutch
and he's actually doing it.
Yeah.
He's actually doing it. And so when you talk about Tito Vogt, you know, being in Arizona and being the guy that's always staying late, you know, when you talk about him changing the psyche of the players when they approach the plate and hitting the baseball, and I'm talking about just the words that he's speaking out of his mouth, I think all of that is the reason why the Guardians are off to the hot start that they are, because he has this team believing that regardless of what the naysayers say, they can beat anybody.
Yeah. Now, look, we are getting very, very excited about this team, and it's easy to do.
Guardians and folks.
And I love where they are and what they've done, but I'm also a realist, and I know that payroll at some point impacts production. It just does. I mean, it doesn't maybe in 20 games. Like I said, if the season were a game, there'd be one out in the second inning. So we're really early in the process. But to your point, and it shocked me when he said it, because I'd done 23 or 24 interviews before Tito Vogt sat down in the chair. And I asked everybody the same question. 2024 will be a successful season if. And everybody had a different answer. Some guys were like, if our starting pitching stays healthy. If we can get the middle of the order to carry what the front half is doing. If we hit more home runs. If our bullpen can bounce back to 2022 form. One man sat in that chair when I asked that question and answered it this way: if we win the World Series. And I was taken aback by it. I got to be honest with you. I'm like, wow, rookie mistake. You don't talk about winning the World Series in February. You don't do that, especially with a team that missed the playoffs the year before and did not make any major acquisitions. But he embraced it like it was matter of fact. So if he told me that, I know his team is hearing that.
Yeah.
And when you hear it enough and you start to play well, you can start to believe it.
Yeah.
So I'm not predicting the World Series, but what I'm predicting is this is going to be a fun baseball season.
Absolutely.
A very fun baseball season.
Speaking of things you don't do before we get to Super Chats, Josh Naylor has become a fan favorite, not just in Cleveland, but around the country for things like this, which we do not recommend. Steve, take time, please. Do not recommend, but this was awesome. Hit the home run, puts the team up, and then Jay, I mean, you played more baseball than all of us combined. Concussion protocol or genius?
No, genius. Remember, he's the one that headbutted Terry Francona after a big win last year. What I wish this video showed was the Rays first baseman, who I like, he's a good ball player, actually chirping at Josh Naylor as he crosses first base. And I don't know what he said. I couldn't read lips. But I imagine what he said was, act like a pro, act like you've been here before. Who the hell are you trying to show up? That's not what it was about. What it was about was earlier in the at-bat, he swung at a pitch and put a bad swing on a good pitch. And he was mad at himself. Earlier in the game, he got into one that he drove on a line to deep center field that didn't get out. He was frustrated. When he crossed home plate, Stephen Kwan was there to greet him, and he grabbed Stephen Kwan by the jersey right up by the neck and shook him. Like, if you didn't know Josh Naylor, you might look at that and be like, what the hell is wrong with this maniac?
He used to beat up on Bo all the time.
I know he did. But what I'm looking at it, and what I'm saying is, this is what a leader looks like. This is a guy that can get 24 guys to stand behind him and take whatever damn hill he wants to take. Remember when he hit the big home run in the Yankee series and he did the rock the baby? Mm-hmm. Now, Yankee fans don't like when you do that kind of shit to their team. They made it brutal on him for his remaining at-bats at Yankee Stadium. But what it told me was, oh, this is a dude that's not afraid to write big checks.
Hey, I'm all for it. I'm all for the energy. Like,
me too.
Listen,
I love it.
I love it. And listen,
Look at that.
When you talk about them old school Indians, they come in your house and tell you what they was gonna do and hit 5-6 bombs on you
And still do it.
And look at you like, what you gonna do about it? I like that energy, man.
He is a superstar.
Josh Naylor wanted all the smoke, and Jose will knock you out. We good.
Yeah, we're very good.
We good.
You know, it's funny. I also asked all the players, who do you want most on your side when a fight breaks out? And a couple guys surprised me, said Hunter Gaddis, which he's a big dude.
He's pretty big.
But just about everybody said Jose or Josh.
And how
Even
many
Quan said that on the show.
how many more years Quan and Naylor got?
And so I got a friend.
Well,
Quan's got a while. Naylor, it's coming up. They got to make a decision pretty soon on
that
him.
decision's easy.
We're going to talk
You pay
about
that man whatever he needs.
I got a friend in Cincinnati.
Do not let that guy get away.
And it's this video of Ellie certain around, and he like, yeah, man, we got Ellie down here. I said, Jose will knock Ellie out, though, if it came down to it.
Not afraid.
Nobody wants those hands. He has heavy hands.
Hands of stone.
All right, guys.